Warning! Today's episode contains spoilers for Andor Season 2, the finale, the entire series, plus lots of other Star Wars I'm sure we're going to be discussing. So just be warned. Hello! My name is Jason Concepcion.
And I'm Rosie Knight.
And welcome back to X-Ray Vision, the podcast where we dive deep into your favorite shows, movies, comics, and pop culture coming to you from iHeart Podcast, where we're bringing you 3 episodes a week, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, plus news.
In this episode, oh baby, we've been waiting for it. We're calling the Alliance back to Yavin to discuss the final 3 episodes in what I think at this point we can just officially call the greatest Star Wars property of all time. It's Andor. And guess what? Sadly, Abu is off planet today, so will not be joining us. But we have called in the most important guest that we could have to make sure we're talking about Andor in a sensible and serious Star Wars forward way. It's Haitch from Escape Hatch. Welcome.
Hey, what's happening?
And of course, we will also have Joelle Monique calling in from Mon Mothma's daughter's weddings after party.
Absolutely.
Happy to have you guys here. Very excited to talk about this absolutely astonishing show.
Astonishing. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, this is an upgrade from coming to talk about Dune Prophecy. This one worked. This one worked.
Shots fired. Shots
is
fired.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So, H, your overall thoughts on Andor Season 2?
And even looking at the entire show, I just want to say the thing that struck me when we got to the finale and the last shot of this, and we see where Bix has landed up and who she is holding, I was crying, screaming, laughing. I was so the amount of relief and love that I felt in that moment. And to me, this is the genius. Tony flipped the script on Rogue One. Everyone always says, "Man, it's depressing. Everyone dies. It's this downer of a story," and he turned the entire thing around. It's about love. It's about life. It's about hope, and it's about rebirth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable to transform that, and so that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm so excited to talk to you guys a little bit more about the baby because there's been a lot of baby discourse in the Discord. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited.
Let's talk about who our MVP of this season is before we really get into the meat of the conversation.
Ooh, baby.
A lot of great candidates on the Imperial side and on the Rebel side, and the kind of shades in between. Joelle, your MVP for Andor Season 2, and I guess really for
Andor,
almost the whole series. Yeah.
In all ways, it's Luthen Riel. It is nobody like to come in and die series to be such a legendary. Like we thought Rogue One was the kickoff, but Luthen is the kickoff. And that is like a brain altering way to watch this movie to honor, like it's done for everybody, but it's also kind of just done for Luthen. Like he is stellar. And for that, episode 10 is maybe one of my favorite things ever written. It's up there with like, what is it? Episode 6 of Watchmen where they go back into her granny time as the top.
Yeah.
It's up there with that. Like, I just think the devotion, what we get with him and Clea, my God, this moment where he's just saying before he makes the transition into Rebel and he's just make it stop. Like you understand from whence this passion comes. And then the unraveling of him, we talked about how like coming into season 2, there's no part of you that would consider like, oh, Luthen's not fully prepared and aware. He's always aware, but like he faltered at times. Like, it was almost like Jesus allegory of like,
oh yeah,
I'm doubting in the 11th hour that we can do this. It's so scary. And for him to kill someone that we ultimately like, who we know sacrificed and lived by the same types of rules as Luthen, like never stepped out of bounds, like held it down in very stressful situations. And then our guy just gets murked on a bench. And I still like Luthen after that.
Yeah.
Still respect his choice. Like,
No,
that's crazy.
I think that is why Luthen is such a brilliant character, and what Tony Gilroy does so well is Luthen is almost like the character who is the show, because the truth is he does terrible things, he does complex things, he does the things he has to do, but Tony Gilroy's not interested in passing some judgment on him. He is just interested in presenting part of what the rebellion needs. And I think as well, the reason that Luthen's fate is like so incredibly moving is he knows, you know, his speech that made everyone fall in love with him for the first time. He says, I'm never going to get to see what we're doing this for. Like, he knows he's going to die in the darkness. He's never going to get the credit. And yet we still get
sunrise I'll never see.
Exactly. Yeah. And we still get these moments, these hopeful moments, like when he finally hears from Lonnie what the real plan has been of the energy, and he understands that in that moment, okay, the super weapon, this is why we've been doing it. Like, he has to make that decision in that second of like, this is the thing we're going to risk it all for. I think that's incredible. And yeah, Joelle,
does anyone have anybody else other than Luthen? Because if we could just all talk about Luthen right now.
Mine is not Luthen, but Haitch, who's yours? Who's your MVP?
So this is slightly to left field of it, but for me, I just want to call out Luke Hull, the production designer.
I love this.
That's great.
Correct.
Yeah.
The world that he created, whether it's Gorman, right, or whether it's Ferrix in season 1, or all the stuff on Coruscant, but particularly Gorman. For me,
Gorman's unbelievable.
Episode 8, I think, is the most transcendent of the season for me. To me, it's 8 and season 1, episode 10, One Way Out, right, with the sunless space at the end. That notion of how they created something so practically beautiful and connected that the artists could move through and do their performances, that had such a strong base in the canon, and as well as continuing to grow from that and not be constrained by that. It's just an amazing achievement of what he did, and that idea of having one person's vision carry through the entire show. Amazing.
Yeah, agreed. Going back to character-wise, mine would be Clea. I think Clea is the underdog for me. I think she's always been an interesting character, but I loved getting to see the way that she moved through this season. I think that in the final moments of this season, also she is like the only person who could do what needed to be done, which was kill Luthen and make sure that his sacrifice wasn't in vain. I think that episode is unbelievable, and I think that we get to see someone who is as dedicated as Luthen, but is also more emotionally connected to the person that she has to take out of this world because he raised her. And I personally am a big fan of the Clea is Andor's sister theories. I think that's really great. And I kind of love that, as Tony has said in interviews, like, she doesn't get any closure. We're not going to get to find out what else is going on with her, but I kind of like how loose it is, because the reality is, you know, even in something like Star Wars, but with Andor, we are talking about a version of reality. You wouldn't just randomly find out that that was your long lost sister. You know, there would be this tragic divergence.
There's no more in space.
Exactly.
I'm anti that theory, though. Like,
tell me more.
Well, I mean, it's the same as Rey. Like, she doesn't have to be, she doesn't have to be Clea Andor, or whatever their name was before that became. And the idea that Cassian never knows what happened to his sister, and he is always trying to fill that gap with other people and rescuing people and building his family at all times. And so I love the fact that Tony's like, we are not going to make that
I like
Can I say,
thing that a lot of people would do.
I respect that a lot because I feel the same way about Rey. Like, I think it really destroys her to bring her into the fold. I was like, oh, it was really cool that she was just an individual.
Nobody needed Rey Skywalker. Like,
why the Andor and Clea are like brother and sister works for me for a couple of reasons. One, there's the holes they leave us for this are really beautiful. You do not know the little girl's name when she meets Luthen, but you do get her name after. It's Clea. Andor's sister's name is Carrie. Luthen goes from he's captain. It starts with an L. Like Rial is a like a small adjustment to his actual name. So we see in this name changing situation that they're the same. On top of that, I really think like there's something to be said about the way they handle things. One of the main things we get from Cassian is he's a guy who hides things a lot. Like from the shower, he pulls down the gun and stuff. The very first thing we see Clea do when she gets back to the safe house is start pulling things out of the wall. The like connections.
The
between
No Country
them.
for Old Men callback with
exactly.
That was so cool.
And I think like these, what really works for me is like Star Wars starts with two siblings who don't know who they are, fighting the rebellion in their own ways and coming together, save the galaxy. This just feels like such a great mirror to that, and without destroying the authenticity and impact of they'll never know it. Like they don't need to know it at all. I think that their story holds up and it's great, but us getting to know and see, like my heart, like, and the fact that Luthen sort of at different ages, but like raised them, brought them into this fold.
Correct.
Like
They are siblings.
I love it.
They're
Yeah,
siblings
in their own
via
way,
he's
they
their
are
dad.
siblings. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that take. Look at us. Look at us. And also, as well, I would say, like, I like Tony Gilroy is never not going to be Tony Gilroy. He's out here and he's going to be making his broad statements about history and about the wildness of the galaxy. He was never going to come in and be like, yeah, they're siblings. But I kind of love that just like any other Star Wars project or Dune project or any sci-fi project, people are going to have their theories. They're going to have their kind of conversations. And that was one that I thought was really interesting because I had not conceived it, but I loved hearing other people kind of talk about why it worked. And when Joelle broke it down like that, I was like, well, I just think that's a lovely echo, even if it's not about
even if it's
blood
not.
And exactly.
Even if it's not,
They're from the same community.
There is a family nature there, and they were both raised by radicals in their own way as well. With Martha. Okay, Jason, who's your MVP?
My MVP is I'll do a haircut on some of what we've heard, and my MVP is the relationship between Clea and Luthen. I think that Clea gave him something to live for and a reason to fight, and kind of was in a real way the first member of his army that he has assembled, the first member of the rebellion, and he gave her the way to do it. Like she was, as you would expect, and as we saw in these episodes, like full of rage, full of anger, wanting to lash out at the Empire in an almost suicidal way. And he says to her that line that really sticks with me, which is, she asks, like, when do we start fighting back? And he says, we fight to win. That means we lose and we lose and we lose and we lose until we're ready. And that patience is how the rebellion was built. She's the only one, I think, who would have been 100% guaranteed to follow through in what needed to be done, which is make sure Luthen dies and doesn't fall into the Empire's hands. I think everybody else, even Cassian, for as ruthless as he is, would have launched some sort of crazy rescue mission. Right?
He can't help it. He's an emotion. He's got a little bit of too much heart. That's why we love him.
It was only Clea, I think, who could see it through. And the two of them together, alone, either one of them would not have been as effective. The idea that they needed to stay for as long as they did paid off, obviously, in the intel that led to the destruction of the Death Star. But without each other, it would have all fallen apart. We saw, as Joelle pointed out, Luthen cracking already, like under the pressure,
and
the
Clea
strain of this whole
literally,
thing.
getting her hands bloody, pulling out the bug, you know, there's no way Luthen could have done that. Like, they were
What a
almost
scene.
That was such an unbelievable scene. Also, like, the literal kind of representation of, like, Mon doesn't know the way that hands have to get dirty, and in that room it is like the literal like kind of representation of that. I also just think as well, like, about Clea is that episode where she has to kill Luthen and make sure it's done. We also see that she has been hidden in this business, hidden in plain sight. She's always stressed at people. She's always pissed off. But we also see that, part of the reason for that is she can fucking handle herself. Like, she takes out all of those stormtroopers. She is ready to fight, but she has had to be playing this part. And I think that is also such an interesting part of her character. And I love Clea, and those were all great picks,
And we also see
guys.
just before we move off of this, two things. One, we get to see how Clea teaches Luthen, and I found that the bartering scene was top. Shout out to the little girl. She's such a great actress. She really killed that role. And I think, like, understanding that Luthen's first disguise is actually taught to him by Clea and not the other way around. Like, what he is good at is the espionage, the patience, seeing the big picture. What she is great at is those interpersonal reactions. And he learns that seemingly from her, because from what we see of him with his troops, like, not great checking in personality.
Hiding in the Humvee while the massacre is happening.
It doesn't seem like things are going well socially, and so I really feel like we get to that side of Clea as well, and the fact that so much of Luthen is her. I was like, that's amazing. I also just really want to call out, I think Luthen, his song makes him S tier MVP. Luthen of Coruscant is one of the most beautiful, haunting songs. We get the starts of it when Clea's in the apartment by herself, just staring out the window. It is gorgeous and dark and, like, lovely and inspiring, and really encapsulates this character that we've gotten to know. And I think the best Star Wars characters get amazing songs. This is an amazing song.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Can we just shout?
Okay,
just
let's,
in terms of pound for pound, can we just say Lonnie? Like, Lonnie,
my God.
literally.
Well,
Okay,
dude,
he doesn't
thank you, H. I want to say something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk
Listen,
about Lonnie.
I love
talk about
Luthen,
it.
and he is obviously
The goat,
in the
yeah.
top 3 most important figures in the rebellion ever, historically.
Yes. Yeah.
And I am not one to argue with his decisions, being surrounded by danger at all times.
You're not, like, saying you
risk
would
of
have
discovery.
done it differently. You don't know what you would have done
I'll
in
just
that
say
situation.
this: Lonnie did deserve better.
He did. Oh my God, he did.
He absolutely deserved better. And I'm not sure what decisions could have been made previous to his ignominious gut shot on a park bench, anonymous death on a park bench. But it feels like there must have been something that either party, Luthen or Lonnie, could have done to just make the outcome a little better. Because that guy literally gave his life to get the Death Star intels. And to go out like that, and, you know, I'm sure his family is in a prison like 3 floors up from Dedra. I feel bad for the guy.
I think it's the Luthen. I
He
think
got
that's
jobbed.
part of the kind of unraveling of Luthen is in that moment he's so scared and
He
he's
was
like,
so
I don't
boxed
have
in.
time to deal with this. Like, we know what the issue is. But no, I mean, they absolutely could have just sent him to a, like, beach planet with his family. Like, I definitely believe there's a version where Lonnie could have existed, but I think that Andor is
they
the
should
show
have had
Andor
something set
is.
up.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
very clearly, you can tell from that exchange that at some point in the past, Luthen had said, "We'll get you off planet. We'll get you and your family off planet," and it just became too late. And
they were on Luthen within an hour of that conversation.
And
So, like,
they
it was
Lonnie,
done.
So it's too late. But yeah, Lonnie,
maybe-
I'm glad he got a shout out.
He was isolated, though, right? Like, he didn't have to say, well, I'll take you to Yavin. Like, he could have let Lonnie take his chances and maybe he gets out. But if he doesn't get out, he can only burn Luthen.
Lonnie's not going to stand up in torture. If we don't have a
Lonnie
solid
will fold.
for Lonnie's
will
going to
fold.
collapse immediately with respect.
They're turning on
respect.
Lonnie, guys.
I'm glad with respect, because he took on immense danger. Let me ask you this. The decision to not tell Luthen right away that hey, I'm
He had
across.
the codes.
I'm across Dedra's computer like for a year.
Mm-hmm.
His argument
is part
was
of the reason he dies because he didn't.
his
give him enough
argument
time.
is, well, Luthen, you would have pushed me to like scrape all this intel, and then that would have been blown up way earlier. Doing it my way, I was able to get this like last little drip of intel that tells us the Death Star is there. Maybe he's right about that. But what is your thoughts on that? Should he have told Luthen? Because I agree with you, Rosie. This is kind of why he's dead.
I think if he'd have told Luthen, 2 weeks prior, I think that there's some other version of this where Lonnie decides it's worth it to tell Luthen. But I also think that with the things that going the way they are on Gorman and our understanding of how the Empire is working at this point and the push to finish the Death Star, I also do think there is a reading of this where this is the moment he tells Luthen because this is the moment he finally puts everything together and understands what's going on. So I don't know if there is an earlier time that he can present this information without Luthen just saying, oh yeah, show me how to do it, and then shooting him in the head. That's kind of the danger with Luthen.
To me, the big thing here is one of the massive questions of this show the entire time for 2 years. Who is going to get the information about the Death Star? And for me, I was always wondering, was Karn going to flip on Dedra and he was going to provide it?
I also had that feeling.
Was Dedra going to flip on the Empire after Karn was killed, and was she going to provide it? No, in the end, it's Lonnie who was the reliable source who Luthen was willing to kill 30 people, let 30 people die on a mission in order to protect Lonnie and keep him placed and always in position, and Lonnie came through. And that is ultimately the justification for Luthen's entire mindset and method. This is how
and
it
life.
worked. It was all the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. Okay, we talked about our MVP. Who are our, either group or singular LVP? Who's the least valuable player?
I think we can all agree that it is the leaders of the Rebel Alliance.
I was about to say
What are you doing? You are getting in the way of greatness.
The Rebel Council, they don't know what they're doing.
I was so mad. I was so mad at that guy.
Like, what the fuck?
Dude.
Who is it? Wait, it's not Donna, right? We need to get the actual. Let's
find
It's
this
another
man's
senator.
name.
Right, it's another
Shame
senator.
and shame him.
But I completely agree. We have been talking about this in chat. Other than Mon Mothma, everybody else is like a Johnny-come-lately who just got here and now is throwing their weight around, and they don't know the stakes of what's been happening here.
They don't know.
Luthen's not using a code unless it's the height of necessity. To Andor's point, even if it is a trap, we still need to go because this is a message to us.
It doesn't change anything.
He wouldn't fold otherwise. Like, something is happening. We need to go check it out. And for them to be like, excuse me, you need a flight plan? Move. Get out of the way.
Excuse me? Go away.
Who's Clea?
Right?
Come on, Radis.
Yeah, it's like everybody's like, what? Just Radis. Radis, a strategic genius in a military sense.
Yeah.
Man, they're frustrating.
But this is this concept that the central thing that Tony wanted to tell, right? The fact that there are different stages in an insurgency.
Right.
And we knew from the beginning that Luthen was not going to be able to make it all the way through. Yep. And this idea of people, they don't even know everything that he's done. They just have heard enough that they're like, we cannot be associated with those kinds of things now that we've got X-Wings and people in uniforms and we're trying to be this real rebellion. So I thought that was extremely effective to show that tension.
Same.
And even Clea being so afraid to go to Yavin, and then when they get there, and Cassian's like, it's going to be fine when we get there. And he's like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm grounded.
like,
Sorry.
Yeah. Also, as well, like, it's the fear of, like, at some point, the Empire, the rebels are going to have to, like, look like they're, like, cleaning up the rebellion and making sure that the people who've been doing dangerous things and blowing things up, and you've got to like have that fear of like, well, am I going to be the scapegoat? And I will say, he did not come up in our MVP conversation, but I do always want to shout out, Saw Gerrera. I think obviously Luthen is a central figure in this, and we get to see how his version of the rebellion is. But let's remember that by the time we get to Rogue One, Mon Mothma is already basically writing Saw out of the rebel story. He is the scapegoat. She's like, he's the one who's doing too much. He's the one who's blowing things up. But the reality, as we learn in Andor, is he is the one who's doing the missions that allow the rebellion to survive. He is the one who is getting the fuel that they need, who is getting the parts that they need. And he is the one who is...
Off that Rido, baby!
Off that Rido, exactly. And he's the one who's emboldening people like Will, who at the beginning of this season, you know, we saw struggle with the balance between both, but Saw radicalized him in a way that enabled him to stay alive. And I do think that, you know, as a Saw Gerrera apologist, he's another person who I think the rebel leadership like let down and also like made a mistake pushing away so virulently, because they are a mess. And as we see, as we head into the original trilogy, they do not get this shit sorted quickly enough. And there is even another Death Star that gets to be built. So let's be real about the success of the rebels. Like, so I think
they didn't have Luthen's network to find
Exactly.
out.
General Davitz Draven is the guy who keeps trying to stop
Davitz
Cass.
Draven, LVP.
I'll say that Draven
I
comes
like Draven.
around. I'll stick up for the council, even though I agree they are the LVP.
I like this.
And
Devil's advocate.
But here's how I'm going to stick up for them, and I think Haitch, you're exactly right in that what this show is telling us, what Tony is showing us, is like, hey guys, democracy means everybody doesn't get what they want all the time, and in order to keep legitimacy, keep that tent big, bring all the people into the fight that wouldn't otherwise have joined if, you know, it was just Saw and Cassian, you know, doing all the stuff. It is, these kind of tensions are just part of it. It's going to be really frustrating, but it's part of it. And I respect that they decided to tell that story, to add that aspect of it. And I think the rebellion is, there's a reason that you don't have like military junta figures like at the top of the rebellion. It's not like, you know, it's Mon Mothma, it's Bail, it's former senators, and yes, you have this military aspect, but it's not like, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin, like 5 Grand Moff Tarkins, you know what I mean?
That's a good
And
call.
I think that is, I think that's why the Republic is something that people still are trying to rebuild at this point in time in galactic history, because it lets everybody have a voice. And when you let everybody have a voice, you have issues like people who don't know what the fuck is going on saying, wait, where are you going with that ship? How dare you? Who the fuck is Luthen?
And
You're
you say,
confined to quarters.
yeah,
and
shut up.
And that is really frustrating. And I found myself being like, what the fuck did Jan, shouts to Dodonna, who does die and gives his life for the cause. But like, in retrospect, what did he really do? Like, other
he
than
is just
Mon
in charge of
Mothma-
scheduling.
Yeah,
He's just like, make sure the ships are coming back at the right
calendar
time,
guy.
guys.
Yeah, and it's it is really frustrating, but I think it's a necessary aspect to democracy and to leveling up this fight so that it's not just, you know, a bunch of scattered freedom fighters / terrorists blowing up stuff and stealing things. Like, it's a real, actual movement.
And I
Legitimate.
do, like, I want to say, like, obviously we talked about him already, but I do just want to say, to me, it is like so, and I know he would hate to hear somebody just saying this kind of stuff, but like, it is so astonishing that Tony Gilroy took this tiny seed of what he was able to put into Andor, which was the question and the statement of like, hey, yeah, look who's getting the medals and look who did the work and will never get the recognition, which to me is why Rogue One, I saw that in cinemas like 3 or 4 times when it came out because it just blew me away. And also everyone wanted to see it. I remember it was a family thing. It's Thanksgiving or whenever it came out, like, let's all go together. We have to watch it. That moment spoke to me, but that was not what everyone got from that movie. It was a brilliant Star Wars action movie with a bleak ending. It twisted, it shocked people. But to me, the fact that Tony was able to sow that seed there and then expand it into a series that will go down as not only one of the best entries into Star Wars, but one of the best entries into TV, that then extrapolates that to the point where we are in a situation where The Atlantic and The New Yorker are writing about this show and its political impact as much as people on the internet are talking about it. Like, I do think it's an astonishing feat. And I think that the level of writing and the kind of understanding of humans and aliens and whoever else that Tony has is just unbelievable. And I think this show is like a testament to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that you get a show that can accurately explore like the truth and underbelly of like a peaceful movement. You know what I mean? Like a non-violent protest is not for the people, it's for everyone watching, as a way of being like, hey, even when we're standing here doing absolutely nothing, they're willing to kill us and show it to you. Please come help. And I think if we just look at the last 3 sets of episodes, really the last 6, like that whole middle section is doing such a good job of exploring like what happens when a small community with very little resources comes under attack. And I think there's not many shows, and again, I keep comparing it to Watchmen, but I just think it's probably the most apt peer this show has. It's like to be able to explore with such rich context deeply complicated like human situations when it comes to like both interpersonal politics and politics on like a grand scale. Like that's a deft pin. And then also to turn around and give us one of the best spy moments in episode 10. That's a whole spy movie of exquisite nature. Like, we're feasting. I'm sad it's over, but I'm also glad we get to revisit.
I want to call out, like recency bias has us talking about Andor season 2, which is the reason we're having this roundtable. But I just want to, speaking of deft pens and kind of like a philosophical MVP of the show, Nemec, who lives on because of his manifesto, whose manifesto is so powerful and influential that Partagaz is listening to it before he kills himself.
And he's so stressed that other people can hear it. He just knows.
I mean, it kind of is the encapsulation of the problem the Empire has, is they can't squeeze hard enough to stop that.
The tighter you grip, the more systems will slip through your fingers.
Exactly. And the more that manifesto will spread, and clearly has spread across the galaxy. So shouts to Nemec. And what an incredible piece of writing within Star Wars that manifesto is.
And also, H, like you guys cover, obviously the podcast began as a Dune pod, and now it is this broader sci-fi genre movie explosion kind of exploration. You just hit 250 episodes with Jason, and with Jason Wan joined you here too for Empire. But me and Jason talked quite extensively on the pod about like political movies and thrillers and like films like Come and See and Army of Shadows, and obviously Dune is one of the original kind of allegorical sci-fi stories. So how much of that was what you loved about Andor? Because it's a great Star Wars story, but it's a great human story.
Yeah.
So we had been tracking and talking about and waiting for Andor for over a year, right, for season 2 to come back. And it was really the events after January 20th of this year where we were all kind of like languishing in the Discord, kind of dealing with day after day. Like, just can't believe the news we are seeing in our everyday life. And this march towards a more authoritarian situation. And we were like, we've got to start watching Andor season 1 right now and talk about it. And it became a lifeline and a place where we could explore the themes that we were having such pain in, but in an unconnected way, and then filter it back. So this show showing the power of resistance, exactly as you say, Joelle, that people showing up for other people and allowing them to see something and understand that acts of resistance do have meaning, and that we're going to find our way, and it's going to be in unexpected avenues and unexpected actors who step into the breach. So for me, that was the whole thing of what Tony has done here. It's so powerful.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. Okay, let's settle this one of the essential Star Wars questions, I think. Are droids truly alive in that they have some sort of soul and spirit, or are they just merely highly advanced analytical large language models that tell you what they expect you want to hear?
I think that there has been enough evidence, whether it is R2-D2 choosing not to tell, Anakin, or whether it is the kind of mass murder kind of passion that Chopper has. I think that there is enough evidence that droids have personalities in this world. And I think it is because in Star Wars, every single character is just made up of the people that they've met and the people that have changed them. And I think that the droids are a representation of that, because it is to do with who fixed you and who spoke to you and who taught you this and who gave you that. And I think that for the stories to have the impact that they have, the droids have to have some kind of sentience, because like when you see K2SO and he is just absolutely fucking bodying Nazis, you feel that this is something that has actually been kind of suppressed in him. And when he is able to fully just explode and use his full power and use it for good and kind of create a rapport and relationship and play games with these people, it feels so natural and it feels moving. And I think that is because we see them in that way. And for me, I think they have to have kind of whatever you would say, a soul, a spirit, some kind of cognizant understanding of themselves. I think that they have to. And I love droids.
Haitch, what do you think?
Haitch?
I don't believe in souls for humans, but I do believe in consciousness. And so, I was just talking to my son who's 7. He said, I don't believe in heaven. And I was like, I don't believe in heaven either. But part of the reason why our lives have so much meaning is because we have this opportunity to interact with others and to have this experience and become a fully shaped person and help people. So to me, like K2, killing it in the game. R2,
I love him.
They're just as real and valuable as anyone else with that consciousness.
Yeah, K2 being like so confused in the card game, trying to be like, well, statistically, this is not making any kind of sense. I love sort of the hybrid space we've ended up in Star Wars, where your programming is programming, but your interactions with that programming make you like, or what give these robots personification. And I do think droids have soul's consciousness, however viewer you choose to describe it. I think, we get to see K2 make a sacrifice if you roll directly into Rogue One after this, make a very clear choice to end his existence. We don't know if you can revive this version of K. We've seen 3PO be revived, so there's some hope in my heart that if the right people, but who's going back to that planet?
Even in The Mandalorian, in the first season of The Mandalorian, you get that huge sacrifice, and I think that there is something
from IG-11.
Yeah. And also as well, I think something that Tony did really well here, that maybe if it had been in a movie and there hadn't been as much exploration of it, people would have been like, oh, that's gimmicky, or that's too kind of corny or cheesy. B2 Emo is always so worried about Cassian. And he wants Cassian to be there, and he wants to know Cassian's going to be okay. And I think that is an explicit... There's no reason that your programming would make you put it across in that way. I think like the nature of the worry and the anxiety and the kind of... And we got that in, we have much maligned it on the show, but in Rise of Skywalker, there is a droid with anxiety, which I did think was an interesting kind of twist. Yeah. And I think I'm a droid. Droids have consciousness, or else Star Wars kind of doesn't mean anything.
Just say how relieved I am that Bix has ended back with B2. He's not alone. Our little guy is, not that they left him alone. He was in capable hands, but I'm just glad he's back with family. I was worried about our guy.
And
I knew that was going to happen. Like
Yeah,
it seemed
you could feel it.
so clear that reunion was going to be there. It was just adding the third character that blew my mind. And so
okay, I need to ask about it, seeing as the babies come up again. So many weeks ago, I will say, this is I believe it was Alisar in our Discord posed the idea, and I'm sorry to be the Dave Filoni of this podcast. I know this is going to annoy some people, but somebody posed the idea in our Discord, and this has now popped off because somebody did a hilarious meme prediction that ended up feeling a little bit more true to life at the end of this, that Cassian and Bix are Poe Dameron's parents, and that at the end she is holding, baby Poe Dameron. Now, I will say, in Star Wars, there has been a problem where if people of the same race are in Star Wars, they are usually related. So I would say this is a fair bet. There was a little bit of contentious conversation in the Discord because Poe Dameron does have established parents, but that doesn't really matter, honestly. And they were established in the comics. And I will say one thing I do love about this potential theory is in the comics, what we learn is that his mom is a famous fighter pilot, and she goes on a mission with Luke, and she finds a force tree, and then Poe grows up with this force tree in the garden. That's just a story I would love to see Bix embark on, even if it is not because she is Poe's mother. So yeah, I just want to put it out there. Is the baby connected to Star Wars? Is the baby just a representation of hope and that life goes on? Like, how do you guys feel about those kind of theories popping up? H, I'm going to go to you as a man who I believe probably just enjoys the textual nature of what Tony's putting down.
Yeah, for me, it's magic because it doesn't have a connection. And so I'm very happy for that baby to be somebody, and I'm sure they have a meaningful life that they have in Star Wars, but it doesn't have to be Poe in order to have it be really special for me. And I think, again, the magic trick, it wasn't just that Tony had to create the Andor show that explained his journey. It's the fact that he found an entire pocket of Star Wars where he could operate with complete freedom and have it be unconnected from everything else and have all of the meaning that we love. And so that, I think, I just want to hold with that space that he created.
I think it's fun, and I think it's like emotional, and the impact of it is like it's not taken away by it being nobody. That makes it more special, But then obviously, I think as Star Wars fans, and especially people who love the animated series and stuff, and the expanded
people who
universe,
read a lot of X-Men comics,
you can't kind of help start making those connections. Joelle, I know me and you are both big. We enjoyed how this theory made us feel.
So I will say that in the initial discovery of it and reading it in the Discord, I was like, that's exciting, because I had seen, it's so funny, this person predicted the baby before the baby showed up in the episode.
Yes.
And I had already seen these episodes, so I was like, what is going on? So I had like some time to sit with it and think about it. In the end, I think I do sort of feel the same way that I felt when they were like, oh, Finn's related to Lando. You're like, all right.
Could you imagine that there's more than 3 Latinos in space?
Wow.
Right.
All right, here we are. So I think at the end, and I just think, like, to me, that baby represents, like, everything about the show. Like, if you, oh man, like the ability to go back to this space that felt like home for Bix, to like raise a kid there, to find a relative sense of peace finally for her. Like, I think this, we talk so much about our fear of Bix getting fridged, and then
I was going to say, but she is the one who gets to survive.
Yeah, there was a lot of folks who felt like betrayed when she left. They were like, how could you leave Cassian? And even now, I will say, when I was like, she better not be holding a baby, I was like, this bitch, I'm so upset. How dare you play with my emotions
if
like
you'd
this?
have told him, he would have absolutely come with you.
But that was the whole point. Like,
That's
she
the point.
left
That's
this
the
space of, like,
sacrifice.
I know that you can barely focus worrying about me. And because Cassian lost his whole entire family fighting this thing and understands what it is to grow up, first having lost a set of parents and then mourning another one murdered in the town square. Like, I don't think Cassian could put his kid through that. I really think like the whole concept of fatherhood would have changed him. And Bix was like, but you're doing the highest good here, and you're really good at this. There's no one Luthen trusts more except Clea. Like, you have to stay, and I need peace. Like, she's breaking down under this, not because she's a weak person, but because
she has been through so much more than pretty much everyone else.
More.
No, she couldn't be there with a baby on Yavin trying to send Andor out on missions. That's not going to work.
No, and so for her to carve out a space of peace for herself, I just thought, like, this is the most beautiful possible ending you could give her. And
that shot of her in the field, my God.
And kind of like looking up to the sky of like knowing that Cassian's doing the thing he needs to do. And I also
like
love
Luke.
Exactly. And I also love the world. I love the openness that Tony gave us here, which is like, you can have whatever version of that ending that you want. Like, for now, you can imagine that baby is whoever you want, or it's nobody. I would love to see Bix get to be a kind of more classical rebellion hero, but you know what else I would love? For her to just be able to live on like big wheat forever with her baby and just raise a chill baby in the happiness and the freedom, the few years of it that they get from the sacrifice that Cassian left. And I think that is a really powerful place to leave us. And also, as somebody put in the group chat, you know, the only person who's getting fridged in this show it was Cyril. They fridged the guy, which like never happens.
How about the hat trick? The show is called Andor, and we always assumed it's about Cassian. But when we get to episode 12 of season 1, we realize Marva Andor is the one who first lights a spark on Ferrix.
Yeah.
And then now we have a third Andor who is born. And so in a way, it's reflecting all 3 generations.
Oh, I love
that. It really
It's great.
is. Oh,
That's
wow.
gorgeous.
I hadn't thought about that. I just think this flows really well into the canon of Star Wars, and it really sets a blueprint for other creators who might want to come in and dabble in this universe in ways that are different. You know, I was reading that some people felt like this was a pretty nihilistic show. I beg to differ.
I think by
don't,
the end,
I completely
it's very
disagree.
hopeful.
Yeah, not only is it very hopeful, but like if you're a nihilist, there's really not a reason to fight. Like there's no reason to get up in the morning and try to fight in these streets. As a nihilist, what are you? It doesn't make no sense. I just feel like there's so much beauty and hope and love in this show, and the way that they've allowed. Again, big holes for us to either fill in theory, you know, we love doing that, enough space for other writers to come in and pick up the story, and enough left on the end that if you wanted to pick up this story in an interesting way, you can without at all interfering with what's been done here. I think it's just brilliant.
Yeah,
Jason?
the nihilism. Oh, so go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Jason, is there anything you think they missed? Like, is there anything you wish they would have done, or a different choice?
Not really.
Nah,
I mean,
man, he was
it
was in his bag.
I do think that there was. I was always interested in the interior imperial politics. I think that they did a good job of sketching the frictions between the different levels of hierarchy in the empire, and how you've always got to be completely subservient to whoever your boss is, and very careful to never outshine your boss, or
the
you
rule
can
of
end up
two
in a prison cell.
Is like really doing some
filtered
dribble.
down.
It's filtered down. It's some
filtered all the way down.
drip down politics. It's happening.
And so I really enjoy, like Krennic is he's such an evil, but like almost comically slapstick. Like he doesn't understand that he's stepping on rakes every time he turns this way and that. He doesn't understand or see the full scope of what a fucking dumbass he is.
He's definitely someone who's been given power without having had to earn it at all, because there's no concept, to your point, Jason, of like, how are my actions having everyone, even your closest at Partagas, is like, hey guy, you should have been done with this like a long time ago. We are
why is
literally
it taking so long?
You sound like Tarkin. Dude, calm down, it's fine, we're almost there. Like, bro, my god, like, check in, credit.
You don't understand, the whole project hinges on one guy who doesn't even want to be building the fucking thing.
But don't worry, like we'll make him do it.
And so, and from that perspective, I would have liked a little bit more Empire, but I don't need it. And I'm left with absolutely no qualms about everything that I saw. I think the show so far exceeded my expectations that it's kind of unimpeachable for me.
The only turn that I wanted to see, and I did not expect it, but as the season began, I had a soft spot for the ultimate LVP, Perrin.
Oh,
my God.
And so seeing
He
him
moved
in
on.
that last
That guy moved on pretty
shot
quick.
with Skolden's wife.
Yeah.
So what happened to Skolden?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes.
It's too good. It's too good.
Messy.
I'm sorry. This is your daughter's mother-in-law. Perrin
It's
Mess.
too
Correct.
fucking good.
And he's a gangster. I don't think you fight off a gangster. Perrin made poor decisions. Perrin's dead
Well,
now.
I think Skolden is Skolden clearly out of the picture maybe for various reasons, and Skolden's ex-wife also maybe moving up or for whatever reason.
I guess, but I wanted to see Perrin like he was the young firebrand, and I was hoping that in some small way, not that he would go to Yavin or something, but that in some small way he would have been inspired by Mon's choice, and made some contribution. That's the only change I would have liked to see. It makes sense. It makes complete sense.
That here's what I love about the Perrin character is, I think anybody that's been around progressive politics, protests, whatever, is aware of the person who's there because it's cool.
Right.
And I think, Perrin was kind of one of those.
Yeah, and
Perrin
also
he had a lot to say, but
Also,
was
'cause
not
his
interested in
wife
doing
is,
anything more than that.
His wife is incredibly hot, and for a while he's just going along with it.
I got a hot wife, I'm rich.
He kind of hates to see her shine or kind of move beyond his means,
Right.
I think. And he made his choice, and we talked quite a lot about that moment because it is so depressing and sad when you just see him there, and it's drink through it, man. Enjoy your peace.
Well, that to me,
in this
that
moment,
to me is a nihilistic. That's a nihilistic character who just says, "Yeah, fuck it. Let's just keep going.
Let's just
with this.
drink
This is-
through it and see
I'm
how
comfortable
this goes."
enough, and I can medicate myself through this, and that's fine." The nihilism charge is interesting to me because, to me, what I think people are saying with that is that they just want a happier ending. They want
they want
the
a happily
heroes.
ever after.
The level of sacrifice makes them uncomfortable in the context of a Star Wars story, and they want to see those medals get pinned on chests.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there is a legitimate claim to that. I know. Here's what I'll say. Okay, so I know that Star Wars is originally a series for children, and I think that's beautiful. And I think we have an egregious amount of content for children that is specifically Star Wars that speaks to them and warns of the dangers of war, which I feel like is really important. I also think it's really important that this show is talking strictly to adults about not just the consequences, but what fallout looks like what sacrifice might have to look like. The people that are being told are rebels are actually look at what they're doing, examine that. It to me really exemplifies what those lessons are supposed to be and drives them home for an older age. And I think that's great. I mean, we're all comics people. We're used to characters being shoved into different shapes and forms and tones to fit an audience. I think that that's okay to have in Star Wars. And I think it's totally fine if you watch this and you're like, this is too bleak for me. I'm not interested in. I think that's totally fair. I completely understand that. I do think that I have a great deal of appreciation for this thing I've loved for a long time, sort of growing up and in a space that I can step up to and enjoy. I think it's important.
Yeah,
is this going to get the accolades, do you think?
I think
Rosie?
it's going to get
the
accolades.
I think it's
Are we
gonna
talking
win a lot of
statues? Are we talking hardware?
I think
I'm
we're
talking
talking
statues.
statues.
I'm talking Emmys.
It's going to win
yeah.
Emmys. Yeah,
I think it's
Golden
going to
Globes,
get.
yeah.
I
Golden
think it's
Globes,
going to get
yeah, also.
nominations. Will it win? Questionable. They're still scared of genre. They're still scared of these kind of big IP properties. But I do think it's going to. I think it will
the
get a large
critical
amount of
acclaim-
nominations.
The critical acclaim is overwhelming, so they've got that part of it.
And the people
And
who review are
never-
often in the awards
Voting pools.
voting.
Yeah.
And
pools.
never underestimate the power of the Disney marketing machine
Hey.
to make the case that this is a great show.
They didn't spend all this money for nothing.
deserving of awards.
Yeah.
So I think it's got a good shot. I think it's got a
I
really
do.
good shot.
I think it's
I
got
think
a
so
good
too. They'll
shot.
follow a lot of shows' other trends, which is like we'll really lean into 8 and probably 10. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go for what, like Luthen, maybe Clea, definitely Andor.
Mm-hmm.
I think those would be our acting
They
categories,
could
and we'll do
kind
2 for
of
writing.
follow The Last
Right.
of Us
Call.
from that season, where it's like then you start to narrow in. Like Bella won like 3 different awards, I think, and you start to focus. I think if there's any justice, I do think Diego should be really in those conversations. But I also think Diego has the ultimate problem, which is he is so talented that he makes it look easy.
Yeah.
And oftentimes if you are very consistent and always great, it can be really hard for award shows to recognize
Yeah.
you. And I think that could be an issue. But yeah, I mean, as we have and many others have speculated, the drop format seems to imply it was because they wanted to get in for this year's Emmys and stuff. And it is the most highly rated and critically acclaimed Star Wars live action project ever. So I will be interested to see what this year's award season looks like. And I just want to say, I do think on the nihilism frame, and this is not a critique, I do think one of the reasons it's easy to make that read is because Tony's quotes, he is a man who has a realistic outlook on life. So he's out here and he's like, 6,000 years of human history, most of it fucking sucked. He's like, most of it was war, most of it was famine, and this could be in any time. And if you don't see that, like, thinking you live in a unique period of time is like myopic. And I think his view on humanity and human history, which is just realistic, it can seem nihilistic. And I think if you're reading those quotes and the show is already kind of bumming you out, maybe you read it that way. But this is, they have introduced now the introduction of a rebellion is built on hope, and it's the guy who works the hotel in Gorman who makes that choice, makes that sacrifice, as Jason has been putting it this season, which I love, gums up the machine in any little way he can. And that is what the show is about. The show is about the hope of a rebellion. It's about the hope of something better for other people, because you might not be here to see it, but you believe that the action you are taking could help others. That's like the most hopeful thing you can have.
Yeah, and that it was Andor engaging him that in a way that other people hadn't engaged him as he's dropped off bags in 100 rooms 100 times. He took the moment to draw him out and get that conversation. That started it.
Yeah.
And brought it back. My God.
I mean, huge.
Well, let's take a quick break before the Emperor's shuttle arrives. The walkway descends, and the
dry
Dark Lord
ice.
himself
Oh shit!
comes walking down the gangplank to tell us his issues with
with the
Andor. We'll be
Andor
right
finale.
back.
Bye.
And we're back.
We're back. We made it.
Bum, 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 bum,
Bum,
bum,
bum,
bum,
bum,
bum, bum, bum, bum. H, if you have not been aware of what's been happening in these roundtables, we like to close the conversation by inviting super producer Aaron to the proceedings to just spew a little bit of the dark side of the Force, a little bit of choking, a little bit of finger lightning,
Just a little bit.
a little bit of evil thought projection, and to tell us, all the things that we're wrong about.
I'm actually so
vis-a-vis Andor.
excited to see H's reactions to this. Aaron, tell us, what are the 3 worst things that happen in Andor in the finale?
In the finale, the 3 worst things are they introduced K2 in a way that he's so overpowered that they couldn't have him anywhere else. He couldn't have been in the rest of the story because it would have been 3 episodes and it would be done. Because the K2 droids were fascinatingly strong and scary.
He is OP and I love him.
Yes, yeah. That's not really a bad thing. I did say, I think it was last week, one of my biggest complaints was Cyril becoming like a hand-to-hand, like true karate master out of nowhere.
This is not at all what happened.
Okay, look,
I
I just want to
it
say,
was not a professional looking fight at all.
I have to say, the
That was last
Discord.
week's match, though.
No, okay, well, I just want to say the Discord did have some things to say about that, which was, he used to be an op agent. You think he didn't have
Security.
some training? He was security. Like, come on, Aaron. The Discord was not happy about that.
Yeah, have you never sized someone up before? I look at Cyril 1 minute and I'm like, he doesn't know how to fight. I get that. Like,
But he
he's-
like attacked him from
Yeah,
behind.
whatever.
It was like not.
Whatever.
It was,
This was
okay,
last
go,
week.
go, go,
This
go
was
on. That was
last
last
Yeah.
week. I'm sorry.
I will say, I did appreciate these 3 episodes. Actually, made me change my mind because it really highlights this idea that even these individuals who are maybe fighting for the cause or the team, all of them are still being led by their own personal desires and biases. And so many of them went off the rails in these 3 episodes because of that. So Deidre is hell-bent on finding Cassian and Luthen, and that is her ultimate downfall. And so the same thing with Cyril. So I did actually kind of change my mind a little bit on that. Like
He's
Cyril
turning
was,
to the light
Yeah.
side, guys. He's
Cyril was
turning
the
Grey
canary in the
Jedi.
coal mine for it. Yeah. Another thing, I mean, I joked about it with K2SO. Another one of my complaints previously was, did we need this high of a budget? Like, is this just going to be bad if it doesn't
The- the
succeed?
The wallet inspector has returned.
He's auditing. He's auditing.
And then they had K2 playing cards.
Bob, Mr. Iger, have you seen the budget for Andor season 2, Mr. Iger? It's insane.
Aaron's texting Ike Perlmutter, and he's like, "They
Right.
definitely are using a lot of safety clips in this one, sir."
Yes.
I saw an extra walk by for 2 seconds in full makeup. Okay, TikTok.
How much did
Get
that
him outta
costume
here.
cost?
But then they had K2 playing cards, and they had K2 picking up people
Okay.
from their front plates and dropping them. I loved it. If they
Yes.
had
He's
to-
turning. He's
yeah,
turning.
if they
He's
took,
turning to
if
the
they
light
took
side.
a single dollar away from the K2 CGI, I would have been upset. So I
Okay,
appreciate
all right,
that.
okay.
I love this. It's turning around.
I, in all honesty, didn't have anything to complain about with these last 2 episodes. I thought
Oh my god! I
Finally
love
got
it.
there. Yeah.
Okay, then in that case,
Jason brought this up. One of my favorite things was looking inside the Empire and getting this really different view and seeing like the internal politics of Partagaz realizing like I'm going down with the ship. Like I have no way out. I'm just taking my life here. And then seeing the helmetless like bitch ass stormtroopers, like I fucking hated them, and it was so good. I was just like in my notes, I'm like these fucking cops, and then like. That whole hallway scene, I mean, Disney knows how to do a hallway scene.
Yes.
I loved it. And I loved seeing them as these, like, with the shaved heads and the big-ass mustache. And I'm like, this is a different side of Stormtroopers
We
than
never
we've never
get to
seen.
see the
We never
humans
see,
inside.
we never
Yeah.
see their face, and then we never see them scared. And that was really cool.
okay, Aaron, because you
yeah.
are here in a unbelievably shocking twist as a lover of the finale, and you kind of
I'm
mentioned
Darth
her a
Vader
bit
at the
here.
end.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
redemption.
he's turned
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Here comes Kylo.
Take off,
Get it.
take off my mask. Look upon you this last time with my own eyes, Andor season 2.
Do you still have him? Do you still have him, Anakin? Aaron, let's talk, because we actually, none of us touched on this, so let's end on a celebratory note. I'm not going to actually do a leading question. How
I know
did
what
you
you're gonna ask.
enjoy Dedra's where we left Dedra?
my
Because I
God.
think that was one of the most satisfying parts of the show for me.
I loved it so much. I couldn't think of a better way.
You're a nihilist. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better way for her story to end with her like in that same. My wife came home as I was finishing the final episode, and so like I just burst out laughing at that moment. She has not watched any of it, so I had to explain some of it to her. Then we went back and we watched all of the K2 SO scenes, so she could see all of that. But yeah, I loved it. I thought that was like such an incredible way, and she does an incredible job acting there, where there's no words, nothing. She just puts her hands or her head in her hands in complete defeat, and that I what an incredible callback to this place that I think the best episodes of season 1
Agree.
happened. And to have her there, and it's like, you know, a lot of people didn't get things right. Like, you know, the family of anyone who's involved in this probably died and is also, like you said, locked up in that same prison. But for her to be there, I love that. That was good.
it's heartwarming to see.
Yeah.
how
Do you think she gets out? Do you think she gets out?
I don't
No,
think
because
so.
Cassie
You don't think in
says
5
this
years?
is the last time they'll ever let this happen.
Yeah,
And we
Yeah.
get
because of
a
Narkina
second
1.
Death Star, and we know this is where they're built. No way, she's dying in here. She's getting moved floor to floor into eternity.
I also think
I will say there's a chance maybe in the New Republic era that she gets that amnesty and gets to go to one of those
because she knows
like
the technology.
halfway facilities where you're reintegrated into.
Yeah.
But I think she never comes
I
out.
think the
sadly.
thing that is so powerful about that ending, and that I think is a really brilliant kind of a lesson and statement, is Dedra's dream was to be known for what she did and her part in the rebellion, and I mean her part in the Empire and crushing the rebellion. And I think that we know from what we saw in Narkina before, and we know from the way that prisons work in the real world. Not that this show has any reflections of real life, obviously.
Right.
Let's not like draw any lines. But like, she is forgotten. That's the real truth.
Yeah.
She will never get the credit. No one is thinking of her. And she knows, because she has sent many, many people to those prisons, that she is now forgotten. She is irrelevant. And what led her there was a quest and an obsession with basically punishing people. And I think for her to end up there is so fitting.
It's perfect ending for this character who we followed through a lot of ups and downs. I think Denise Gout should walk away with the statue. Like, I think
agree.
anybody gets it. Like,
She's incredible.
Obviously, like what Skarsgård did with Luthen is phenomenal.
Yes.
But there's such a my God, her coming in for her victory laugh is hysterical. Like the way she's able to play both the comedy of the scene, because we understand Luthen is planned for this, and so there's no way out for her. Like she's not going to get what she wants. The double then to triple entendres in the writing there. I just think like when we get I mean it's really beautiful writing. When he picks up the knife, he's like, we don't know if it's authentic. Like, gonna find out. I don't know.
The tension rises.
Yeah. But to her, like literally her fall to her feet, to the scene that we get with Krennic, which is Ben Mendelsohn on a kick. But I just think like that ending for her, not only is it fitting, but like in the human side of Daedra that we got to see, like there's such an element of like, yes, all she wants is the glory, and she's a bad person. She was really excited to torture Luthen. Like she was like, don't even worry about it. She's like, I've got time, okay, for you. I've been waiting
get that
for
back
this.
Into his belly and
Like,
get him back on his feet. Yeah.
Yes, near to death, and then do it all over again. This is what she's the part of her job that she's most excited about. A despicable human, but she's also a person who never again had any kind of sense of like love. Like what I
She
like
was
about
raised by the Empire. She was an orphan.
She's in a cult, essentially. And how do you get rewarded in this cult? By being the most ruthless. And she's climbed the ladder. She's found a way. It's awful, but it's true. And then for them to showcase, like, no matter what role you play, that you're going to die. Like, I just love the way they set that up within the Empire.
Here's what's interesting to me about Dedra's character. As we have said many times, this is a show that has no connection to real life. But it's kind of the... we've gone through an age in government of like technocrats, people with immense intellect and ability who get into positions and just know how stuff works, right? And we see the value in that. I think Dedra would have thrived under the Republic or the New Republic in the exact same role. I think she would be. I think people would be like, "Wow, Dedra's good at her job.
She's hunting Imperials. Like, great for her."
But it shows you the danger of a technocrat with no ethics or morals.
Yeah.
This is a person who was just like, I want to be great at my job, and I don't really care
doing a
about
genocide.
the right or wrong of the right or wrong about what we're doing. And those people are dangerous as well, though in a different context than truly bad actors, people who are out there with truly malign intentions, which I never thought Dedra really had true malign intentions. She was just like, this is... I'm following the law. I'm out here hunting down spies, and I'm good at it.
I'm playing for the winning team, and I'm an MVP.
History will remember me well because
the
she's
Empire
going to
needs
be
the
the
planet.
Yeah.
They need the planet, right? And again,
make it
I think
better
if she
for
was
everyone else.
if she was working for the Republic, people would be like, yeah, Dedra's good. Like,
Yeah.
I have no qualms about working with Dedra. And I think that what is so satisfying, in one of my darker moments on the off mic in the X-ray Vision Zoom, I once said to this gathering, not Haitch, but everybody else, you know what? I've decided that I'm pro mass incarceration, but only for the bad people. And that's how I feel about the final outcome for Dedra.
You're like,
I think it's terrible, the place that she's been thrown into, but I can't think of a better
place
person to
for
be
her.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have
Like
another.
we should dismantle that entire structure, but I'm glad
But
she's
just leave
there.
her.
Yeah.
I have another real world connection that I want to ask. Pose as a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Because in my head I was like, could we do some spin-off that's like an X-Force or IMF with like Clea and Vel and Bix and like them doing anything that the Rebel Council can't do? But I came up with a better way of posing it. Who would win, 100 Cleas or a Rancor? And we give Clea time to plan and Clea to like outfit the room that they're
Yeah,
fighting.
the
in.
Rancors are so overrated. They're incredibly
Rancors
beatable.
OP.
They're very, very beatable.
I think one Claire could beat a Rancor. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've seen people fight him. Like, I think
The
one
muscles
Claire.
around the throat of the Rancor clearly
Very
not
weak.
strong enough to protect the windpipe, and if you get to that windpipe, it's
I've played the
curtains for
Star
that
Wars
Rancor.
video games, and even I have beaten a Rancor, just throwing some bones at it to distract it before I get my lightsabers out. Like, I think Claire would be fine.
All right, thank you. This has
Wow,
been
this
our
is a joy.
season 2, our final season 2 X-Ray Vision Roundtable. H, thank you for joining us and being such a wonderful guest and voice on the Roundtable. Where
Thank
can
you for
people
having
find
me.
you?
Yes.
Yeah,
plug.
see. Yeah, you can find Escape Hatch wherever you listen to your podcast. We just did episode 250 with Jason Concepcion. We
Heard
did
of
The
him?
Empire Strikes Back.
Hey.
It's an amazing episode, and I would say folks should also check out Rosie's last entry, which was Twilight, which is a legendary episode. But we have Andor coverage and everything. Just check it out online.
Yeah, and lots of crossover between our two Discords. So if you're already
Big
in the
time.
X-Ray Vision Discord, you'll feel just at home at the Escape Hatch Discord.
We love y'all. We appreciate so much everything you've done.
Thank
for
you
the
so
pod.
much.
Yeah.
Coming up this week on X-Ray Vision, tomorrow, join us for news and a couple of interviews with the cast and creators for Apple TV Plus's new Murderbot series, an adaptation
Yes.
of the Murderbot
Woohoo!
books. Then on Monday, we'll see how Ellie breaks our heart this week with The Last of Us 206. Tuesday, we're celebrating the dual anniversaries of Empire Strikes
Duel
Back
of the
and
Fates.
Revenge of the Sith. Thursday, we've got a new... Thursday, we've got a Need for Speed recaps of the entire Mission Impossible series. And then Friday, we're introducing a new series in which we will feature a long-delayed review of Sinners. And Saturday News, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
X-Ray Vision is hosted by Jason Concepcion
I'm Rosie Knight.
and is a production of iHeart Podcast.
Our executive producers are Joelle Monique and Aaron Kaufman.
Our supervising producer is Abu Zafar.
Our producers are Carmen Laurent, Ian Johnson, and Bei Wang.
Our theme song is by Brian Vasquez with alternate theme songs by Aaron Kaufman.
Special thanks to Sol Rubin, Chris Lord, Kenny Goodman, and Heidi, our Discord moderator.